The next one is secure pre-approved financing. So this is when you're going to, obviously talk to a lender to get pre-approved. Now, keep in mind, pre-approved is different than pre-qualification. I always like to explain this as like, sometimes in the mail you get the thing that says, hey, you know, you've been selected for a new Visa card or Amex or whatever it is. Well, that's just saying like they've kind of done a first pass and they're interested in potentially offering you a line of credit. But when you open it up, they're going to say you either need to go online or you need to fill out this paper application and send this in to actually get approved for a card. And then once they do that, they're going to tell you actually how much credit they're going to offer you. Same with a lender. A lender might be able to pre-qualify you, or there's lots of websites where you can put in a little bit of information that's going to pre-qualify you and say, yes, you can afford to buy a home for 500,000 or $1 million, whatever. But until you actually provide a lender with your tax statements, your W-2s, et cetera, and they pull a credit check for you, they're not going to actually be able to tell you exactly what it is that you're able to purchase. So a lender getting a pre-approval is very, very important in that entire process. So you're going to want to establish your budget and understand what you can do, and a lender can help you with that. There's also a lot of online tools that can help you with that. You want to choose the right lender. There's lots of lenders out there who are going to, potentially answer lots of questions for you. And you also want a lender who's very responsive, who's going to get back to you right away when you have questions. You don't want to go out on a Saturday, see an open house that you love, and be like, I want to write an offer on Sunday. And you reach out to your lender to crunch some numbers, and your lender's like, oh, yeah, I'll get back to you on Tuesday, right? That house might be gone by Tuesday, right? So it's important that you pick a lender that you really enjoy working with. So you want to ask for referrals. You want to interview all and choose one that you'll feel most comfortable with. So that means talking to a couple different lenders. Same thing when you hire a realtor. Prepare a loan application and get pre-approved. So that's going to be gathering all the information and providing that to the lender. And then they're going to walk you through, determine what you want to pay. So that could be what your down payment options are. I mentioned earlier, you could have as low a down payment as 3%, or you could be all the way up at the 20% so that you don't have to pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, which I'll dive into a little bit later. So it's important to have all those conversations with your lender so you can determine what your best option is. So this is, I kind of just talked about this already, but the difference between a pre-approval and pre-qualification, obviously, pre-qualification is not a formal application with a lender. There's no commitment, and it states how much you might be able to borrow, versus a pre-approval is going to be formal, going to actually state that you can go out and purchase a home for $800,000 or whatever the number is. So it's important for you to go through that entire process. So deciding among your mortgage options, what is most important? A low monthly payment, the smallest amount down payment possible, faster equity buildup. These are all things that you obviously can work with your lender to understand to ensure that you have minimal risk. So understanding mortgages, there's 3 decisions. So down payment, how much? Like I mentioned, could be between 3 and 20%. I was working with a client just this morning, and we were actually going to put 50% down, right? If you happen to have that amount of cash, he was very successful in his company and got a lot of stock options. So he was actually able to put down a lot more than the 20%. What is the interest rate? There's also opportunities, like there's different rate options out there. There's adjustable rates out there. There's 30-year fixed rates. Those are all going to be pros and cons that you're going to want to talk to with your lender. And that's also the term. So the monthly mortgage payment has a acronym PITI. So it stands for the principal, the interest that you pay, the taxes. So that's going to be property taxes, and then insurance, because the lender is always going to insist that you have, insurance. The only way you can not have insurance on a property, which we would never advise, is if you paid cash. So getting, cash is allows you to not have insurance, but then if your property caught on fire tomorrow and burned down, then you would have no money left over. So obviously you want to have insurance, but your lender is always going to require that you have insurance. I'm just going to answer this question in the chat about the deck. I'm happy to share the recording after if you all reach out to me. Okay. So we do have a partner called Keller, Keller Mortgage, so Keller Loans. You can apply directly with them online, and they simplify and expedite the process. I've had some clients use them. They is an exclusive to only working with Keller Williams agents. They eliminate the signer and lender fees, and they take $1,000 off the third-party costs, and they have really, really great interest rates. So something to keep in mind. Based on your pre-approval limit, down payment can vary between the 3 to 20%. You have to figure out where are these funds going to come from. Do you have that money already saved up? Have you been saving up? Do you have the opportunity to do a side job to raise more money? Do you have savings? Do you have, for example, a 401k that you might be able to borrow money from? Do you have parents or in-laws that might be able to gift you money? There's lots of different options that you can look into, right? And those are all things to talk to with your lender about where that down payment money may come from. So the next thing is you want to obviously maintain your pre-approval. So once you actually get pre-approval from a lender, you're not going to necessarily tomorrow, the day after you get that, find the perfect home, right? It might take a couple weeks for you to find a home that you want to write an offer on. So you need to maintain that pre-approval. So that means no purchases. Don't go out and buy a new car, because if you buy a new car, you're now using up some of your loan to income ratio by purchasing that car. The same could be applied to, like, don't go out and buy a new couch or a $5,000 TV, etc. Don't add or close any credit cards. You want to just keep your credit as stable as you possibly can. Don't change your jobs. I had one client once who we were in the midst of looking for homes, and I think she was actually in escrow, and then she told me that she got a new job, and I panicked for a second, but luckily when she said she got a new job, it was just a new job in her same company. So she didn't change companies, she just got promoted. That's different because you're still worth the same company, and your W-2s aren't necessarily changing in that case. And you want to protect your down payment. So obviously, if you have money saved up, if you have 5% saved up for your down payment, you want to make sure that you keep that so that you have that once you do find your perfect home. So the next thing we want to do is, so this is all, we're still just kind of speaking specifically out about the mortgage side. So this is outside of the offer. So I'll kind of circle back on that. So once we get into contract, you're going to submit an accepted offer back to your lender. So it's going to outline all the terms and conditions for the income, and then it's going to go back to the lender, and your lender, the day we ratify means we submit an offer and the seller accepts it, where it's now been ratified and we're opening escrow. We then send that information to your lender so they can start the underwriting process for that property. So they're going to go through the entire thing, including getting an appraisal. So if you're purchasing a property for $1 million, they want to make sure that that property is worth $1 million, because if they do an appraisal for that property and it only appraises for $750,000, they're going to say, well, wait, why did you offer way more than what this property is valued at? If you ever default on this mortgage and we try to foreclose on you, we're only going to be able to go sell it on the open market for less than $750,000. And now we've just lost all this money, right? So that's why an appraisal is important. It's really to make sure that the offer of value is close to what the property appraisal value is going to be. The other thing we're going to look at is title. So we want to look at the legal rights of the property, make sure that the people selling it are the actual people who own the property. So for example, if someone got divorced and like the spouses broke up and went separate ways, and now one of them is trying to sell the property, but they're both on title, obviously we need to make sure that both people who are on title are okay with moving forward with the transaction. And then obtain the funding at closing, so all the money then ends up going to the escrow so that they can pay off the seller. So that could be money with your down payment. That would also be money from your lender, et cetera, in the amount of the loan that you're getting. And that money goes to closing. So that's kind of like the entire mortgage process from start to finish, all in one step. So I kind of, just so you all know, I kind of jumped ahead on the actual process of purchasing a home, which we're going to dive into now.